Vanagammakale, welcome to our show. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Dr. Vineet Aggarwal. How many of us do we really know about our Hindu culture, religion, and history? Dr. Vineet Aggarwal is one of those persons who has done a very deep research on these areas. In this session, we will be diving into a little bit on our religion and Hinduism. I'm pretty sure, as much as I enjoyed the interview, you all will enjoy the same. Let's welcome Dr. Vineet Aggarwal to our show. Yes, welcome with Dr. Vineet Aggarwal. I mean, like, I have been reading so many about you. I have been reading your blogs. I know you have written like 3 books, on our Hindu culture, and you're also running a YouTube channel. So, first of all, thank you so much for joining us in this session.
Thank you.
So,
It's my pleasure completely. Thank you for having me here.
thank you so much, Vineet. Firstly, I have to ask you one thing. I mean, like, there are lots of questions in back of my mind, but let's take it one by one. I mean, like, Doctor Vineet is by profession, but apart from that, you have another part of Vineet, which is totally into our Indian culture, Indian science, and Hinduism. How did that journey started for you? And yeah, what inspired you to start this one?
I think the journey started right in my childhood, because my grandmother used to tell me stories about Krishna. And I think it left a lasting impression on my mind because for a child, hearing stories about God being mischievous it's a very interesting phenomenon. You would think of God as somebody who's very prim and proper and serious and, probably judgmental, who's judging you all the time for whether you're a good kid or not. But here was a child, here was a God who was like a child, who was a child, who behaved like a naughty kid, and that was very interesting for me. And that kind of hooked me into
True.
the stories from the epics. And while growing up, I think it was also continued in the form of the Amar Chitra Katha comics, which are a great storehouse of information about our history and our culture. And beyond that, I think I kind of sustained the interest by reading about these stories and legends. And it took the form of my blog, Decode Hindu Mythology, which came out in 2011, where I kind of was using my scientific study, scientific education
True.
to make sense of the stories and the legends. And it became a hit, surprisingly. When I started, I didn't know if anyone was going to read it, but it turned out there were a lot of other people like me who were interested in knowing about their stories and analyzing them, or learning from them. So the blog became a big hit, and it was through the blogs that I was approached by the publishers to do a book, which turned into 3 books gradually.
Yeah.
And so one thing led to another, and the stories were actually linked chronologically. So that's how it happened. So the journey was, I would say, a bit of it was in my control, but a lot of it was destiny playing its
True.
hand, and it was not planned. Many of the things were not planned at all. So I think that's a mix of free will and destiny right there for you. Where I am now.
Totally, and I think that's why the destiny, right? Because of that only we are sitting right now and we are having this discussion. I would say that one also. Yeah. Yes, Vinit. Coming to I mean, like, the knowledge, the gap of knowledge, what we don't have now, right now, and
So, Vijay, I feel there are a couple of factors for it. First of all, the information was not freely available.
mm,
It was, there was a group of priests or well-read pundits who would know the stories, but not an average person in the family. Some of the stories were better known because they were narrated by bards or by poets, or they were translated into regional languages like the Ramayana. It has
yeah,
translations in almost all Indian languages, and of course there's the Ram Leelas that we had in the north, and similar things, in for example, in Kathakali you have descriptions of certain episodes from the Mahabharata. In Manipuri dance, so dance, culture, literature, all brought out some of those stories, especially of the epics.
mm,
But some of the other stories, like from the Vedas and the Upanishads, what do they contain? What is the message? This was all hidden from the vast
yeah,
majority of practicing Hindus. And the second reason was we didn't know the language. After
The Sanskrit.
independence, there has been no efforts to introduce Sanskrit as a language. And when you don't know the language, even if you have access to the scriptures, you will not be able to do anything with them,
Yeah.
right?
Can
That
I
was the second.
Can I actually in my school until fifth I was reading Sanskrit. Honestly, I was studying in KV Kendriya Vidyalaya, and until fifth the Sanskrit was there. And once Sanskrit was out, I was so relieved. Oh, thank God it's out! Because it was so hard. I mean, like to be honest, people don't speak that much. You speak Hindi, so Hindi was easy, and little bit of English was okay. But Sanskrit was like such a foreign language. It felt like a foreign language, and uh,
Right.
and once it was out of the syllabus, we were so relieved. So the interest was also very much less to learn our own language.
Yes, but it's not a child's fault, right? It has to be explained to the children why this is important, and I feel
Exactly.
a lot of times that doesn't happen. And that brings us to the third factor why we don't know our stories is because our parents were busy in building a better lives for themselves. They really didn't have time for religious education of their children.
Yeah.
They were more focused on providing the children a better, more comfortable life financially. They were
So
trying to
true.
better themselves, and they were trying to be in a better place than their parents. And we are definitely in a much better position than
So
our
true.
parents were thanks to their efforts.
Yeah.
But in that process there was this whole disconnect that happened with
Yeah.
the religious teachings,
Yeah.
because unlike some other faiths, we do not have a mandatory day to
Very true.
attend
Yeah.
you know temple sessions or seminars, or there's no occasion where you can listen to a sermon or listen to a learned person talk about things from the scriptures. So it gradually got lost.
Yeah.
And now that internet has provided us that opportunity, I think we should grab it with both hands. There's internet has democratized this information,
So
and it
true.
has made it available to us in languages that we do understand, that we are comfortable with. And it's the translations of all the major scriptures are available in various websites, in various portals. They are available as books. They are available in even international languages. So whatever language you're comfortable with, wherever in the world you're living, if you want to know something about the teachings of Hinduism, it's easily
It's
accessible
ac-
today.
Actually, that's
So
what
so
once you also said it's a crime if you don't use this one now, and know your own culture and know your identity. So you are doing a crime
yes.
if you don't really, I mean, like, start knowing and start learning about your own identity and about your own culture. So I totally agree with that one also.
And who else will do it, right, Vijay?
True.
Who else is going to do it? If not us, who else is going to explore it? Otherwise, we will be always dependent on the Westerners translating our works and, giving us views which they don't really understand. There's only a partial sort of understanding of the scriptures because they don't practice that religion.
Yeah.
A person who's practicing the religion has an intuitive idea about what is written. And when you're reading those stories, and just to give you an example, a lot of people say Vishnu is a minor god in Vedas.
Mm.
But that's completely untrue. There are fewer verses to Vishnu than Indra. Indra is the most popular god, and
Mm.
Vishnu is referred to in the Vedas as Upendra, which means a sub Indra. So
Oh.
Westerners automatically assume that Indra is the major god and Vishnu is a minor god. And there are theories floating across the ether, that Vishnu and Shiva and Brahma were later on in the Puranic age.
Mm.
They were raised to the level of the Trinity, whereas in Vedas they were minor gods, which is completely
Yeah,
untrue.
true.
Because if you read the scriptures, if you read the verses that are dedicated to Vishnu, most of the verses that talk about Vishnu talk about him taking three steps.
Mm.
Okay. And anyone who's read the Purans or who knows the stories of Vishnu's avatars would know the significance of three steps that Vishnu takes. And in the form of Vaman, is the dwarf incarnation of Vishnu.
Yeah.
And in the Vaman avatar, Lord Vishnu takes three steps to reclaim the territory that has been won by Bali. And that the three steps are what are being eulogized in the Vedas. And
Oh, now
in
I get it. Yeah.
and in that form, in the form of Vaman, Lord Vishnu was born to Kashyap and Aditi, who are the parents of Indra
Indra.
and other demigods. So it's, of course, he was the youngest one of amongst the Adityas, amongst the sons of Aditi. Vishnu or Vaman is the youngest one, so he is an Upendra. So once you know the stories, once you know the background, you can connect the dots.
Yeah.
But for somebody who's just reading the Vedas and he or she thinks that Purans are just make believe, they will never be able to understand the scriptures. So it is imperative that people who are practicing the religion, they read the scriptures and then they start analyzing the different perspectives that are given, and then they start putting those perspectives in place and sharing them with others
Sharing
so
with
that the
others.
knowledge expands. Otherwise, still now we are so dominated by what the Westerners have told us or what the Western educated Indians have told us. We
See the irony. The Westerners are telling us about our culture. Like Vishnu is like grown to the. I mean, like it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how yeah.
completely. And now we have the access to all these scriptures. Yeah, it's not difficult to find out. You just need a little bit of interest and a little bit of inclination to connect the dots, to find out the reasons for why things are written in a certain way.
Yeah.
So I feel there has been a big disconnect, but today the opportunities are so many that
True.
we have to take those opportunities and we have to bring it out and share these interesting aspects of our own history, with the world. The
Yeah.
Vedas are full of historical, anecdotes as well. There are various kings that are mentioned. There's this battle of 10 kings, which is mentioned in the Rig Veda, and this
Mm,
is probably the oldest historical record of human tribes fighting each other. Imagine
yeah.
this is the oldest text that is existing, and it mentions this. So this is the oldest historical event that we have recorded in mankind.
Yeah. Very true.
Don't even listen to it. So
Yeah.
it's
I
just
know.
frustrating things that people
Yeah.
don't listen to it.
While you are telling about reading the Vedas and learning about our own culture and religion, I just one question popped in my mind. Do we really need some kind of a mentor or a guru who says like, okay, this is how you should read? Because just now a good example what you gave was people just read Vedas and they got confused about Vishnu and Indra, and they say like Vishnu is or Indra is the big god or something like that. So if we don't read everything in a chronological order, for that matter, okay, this has to be read first, then only you will really understand, okay, what is behind this one, rather than if you start reading this one, you will not, I mean, like, you have to start from the head. You can't just start reading the tail first and think like you will understand everything. So do you
Right.
have any guru or a mentor for that one, or I'm just yeah.
I would say I have many. I
Okay.
don't follow one particular philosophy, or I don't really follow one particular set of teachings. So I try and learn and listen from everybody. Whoever's wherever I can get the opportunity to learn, I try and do that. And then I think it's important to have a guru to guide you,
Mm,
but it's also important to have your brain functioning and logical
yeah.
to understand some of the things. There are perspectives that are more personal in nature. Every person has their own ideas. They are that sometimes get interpolated into translations as well. You see them in a lot of books that were translated by a certain sect or the other. The books that are translated have a lot of interpretations
Mm,
of a personal nature of the founder of that particular society. So, but when you know the language, you see that no, but this is not mentioned in the original shloka.
yeah.
So I think having a guru is essential for sure for beginning your journey. But why limit yourself to just one guru? You can
That's
keep your
true.
mind open and learn from as many as possible, and then you sit and analyze. use your own brains and analyze, what actually makes sense for you.
Yeah.
Because Hinduism has that beauty of democracy. We are not told that everything has to be done in this way only.
True.
That is not how Hinduism works. And we have different sects that consider different gods supreme. We have different ways of worship. We have the Vam Marg, the Dakshin Marg. We have the Yajnas, the Arya Samaj that don't believe in idol worship. We have Murti Puja on the other hand. We have people who only do meditation. There are people who say only chanting the name of the god in Kalyug is enough. So there are so many ways to approach God. So you have to figure out what works for you, and you have to follow that path to
True.
spirituality. Because I think God Himself, Krishna Himself says in the Bhagavad Gita that all
Yeah.
paths lead to me,
Exactly.
and
There's not only one
whether
path, as you said.
exactly. And Krishna himself gives three different modes of achieving salvation. So when God himself is giving you so many options, why limit yourself to,
To one.
one particular thought or one particular process? Why not explore everything? Okay, so even in Shiv Puran, there's a mention of different things that you should do. Only one particular path is not fruitful, so there is Shravan, which is listening to scriptures from a learned person, which is what the guru would do,
Guru.
right? Which is where the guru would help you. And then you have Manan, you have, and Chintan. So you think, you analyze these things, you meditate, you do a bit of your own self study. So there is various things that you're advised to do, and find your own path, your own journey. So of course mantras are important, or
Mm.
worship is important, or ritual is important, or but whatever works for you, you have to figure that out.
Yeah.
So I think that's the major takeaway from Hinduism today.
Mm.
Modern Hinduism gives you the buffet to choose from,
Yeah.
works for you, and you
Yeah.
follow that path.
Exactly. There's no one way to achieve or to attain God. There are so many options, as you said. So that is so true. As you said about Purans, Vineet. I mean, like Shiv Puran, Vishnu Puran, we have, and we also have not Bra, we
We
have
have
we have lots
18,
of, yeah, we have
we have
18 Purans. Yeah, exactly. Thanks. We have almost 18 Purans, but Shiv Puran, like, now it's just a very, yeah, Shiv Puran says, like, Lord Mahesh or Shiv was the first one, the where the whole thing started. But Vishnu Puran says, like, Vishnu was the first one. How do you see that one? I mean, like, now two different Purans or two different books are giving telling me, like, okay, it really doesn't matter for me. I see both as one for me. I mean, like, but people might get that question, why one
no,
Puran
no,
is
it
giving you that one and one Puran is telling you that one.
does. Yes, it does create a bit of confusion, which I agree, and it does matter to a lot of people, because people start arguing,
Mm,
and I've tried to explain it in every possible opportunity wherever I get to talk. So thanks for asking this question.
mm,
The Shiv Puran itself says that, in various kalpas, which are the different days of Brahma. So Brahma has a lifespan of 100 years,
mm.
and each of his days is called a kalpa. So in every kalpa, the Trinity appears differently. So this is mentioned in the Shiv Puran itself, that, the Tridev, they appear in a different order, and one of them remains supreme for that particular kalpa. And
Okay.
interestingly, the Purans, they actually even, so I think it's the Matsya Puran that mentions the name of the Kalpas corresponding to each of the Purans. So the Purans are actually stories of events that have happened in different days of Brahma.
Oh,
So in one day of Brahma, Shiva appeared first. So that was the day which is dedicated to the Shiv Puran, because
Shiv
Shiva
Puran.
appeared first. So
Ah,
Vishnu
okay.
Puran is dedicated to Vishnu for that day when Vishnu appeared first. So it is all very logical. It all makes sense
It
when
makes sense
when you
now. Yeah, it makes sense
exactly.
now. Exactly, not before.
But nobody told us this, right? No one told us that, there's no contradiction actually. It's just the stories of events that happened in different days, and
Hmm.
it's sort of a rotational responsibility that they take. Some days Shiva is supreme, some days Vishnu is supreme, some days Brahma is supreme, some days Shakti is supreme, some days Krishna is supreme. So that's
Yeah.
why you have different stories and, different versions. So it's it all makes sense when you read the scriptures. That is why, I say sometimes having a guru is definitely
Yeah.
essential, but read yourself is also equally essential, because your guru may have been brought up with a certain philosophy,
Mm.
by his guru,
Yeah.
and that is what he would or she would inculcate in you. But when you yourself explore, you will find answers to many other things
True.
that are outside of that particular thought process, so I feel it's important to keep your mind open, and especially as modern citizens of this world, why should we be so dogmatic when our ancients were not? They were very open minded. In fact, there's a term that Max Muller coined for the Hindu way of worship, which
Mm.
is called henotheism.
I'm
So
sorry.
it's called henotheism,
Henotheism. Yeah.
right? So people talk about monotheism, that Western religions are monotheistic. There is only one God, right? They talk about the ancient religions like Romans or Greeks. They had a polytheistic religion, or
Mm.
Hinduism is called a polytheistic religion because there are many gods. But Hinduism has everything. It is a polytheistic religion which talks about God being one
Mm.
and all the different forms being just different manifestations.
Yeah.
So, it is actually a monotheistic religion. But the Upanishads actually take it further, and they tell us that we are also equivalent to God. So, it
Okay.
takes us to the realm of monism. Even beyond monotheism, there's monism where everything is one, or pantheism, that this entire world is God. So there are so many beautiful thoughts in Hinduism which we don't know about,
Yeah.
and in fact, this whole philosophy of knowing yourself, and in Upanishads there are two thought processes going on simultaneously. One is knowing yourself, which is the knowledge of Atman, yourself,
Yourself.
and second, knowledge of the universe, or the sentient being who's running the universe, which is the Brahman.
Mm.
But so beautifully, Atman and Brahman are supposed to be one, in Upanishads. So that is the whole Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam philosophy, and
Okay.
the whole world is one. It all comes from our scriptures. So this fight is
Yeah.
unnecessary.
Unnecessary. Actually,
Argument is unnecessary.
yeah, the one what you mentioned, open mind, when we are looking at our, especially when we are reading about our culture, when we are reading about Vishnu, Mahesh, Brahma, how the universe started. I think you also mentioned like there are three Vishnus, I mean, like one at every stage you have a different Vishnu, and then from the Vishnu the Brahma comes. So if you don't keep an open mind, you will science, it always says question everything, right? I mean, like that's how everyone is now brought up, question everything. But this, especially when you are talking about Hindu religion, you have to keep an open mind. You have to keep an open mind.
For any religion, which is important, we see a lot of bad things happening because people don't have an open mind, But for Hinduism, I think it is easier to do because our religion itself teaches us to ask questions.
Yeah.
There are certain faiths that frown upon asking questions, right? But
Mm.
fortunately, we are born in a faith, in a religion where it is you're encouraged to ask questions.
True.
So even if you are encouraged and still you are being adamant that no, what I think only that is good, that says, you are just missing a golden opportunity to learn more. It's
True.
not about dogmatism. It's not about following, or it's not a race for supremacy. It's a race for
Sa-
salvation. It's a
Knowledge.
race for out of the cycle of birth and
Yeah.
death.
Yeah.
So how would it help? Even if one form of the god was more superior than the other,
Yeah.
you have to still get out of this cycle. That is what is more important for you, rather than arguing about my way or your way.
Your way. Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Vineet. I mean, like, it has been amazing what you said. As I said, it will take some time for all of us to process what you gave, the knowledge, or the thing what you said. But what would you like to like give one not a final message, but one message? Okay, this is how we should at least we should start living from now.
Right. So first of all, Vijay, it's not my knowledge; it's the knowledge of our ancient sages. It's the knowledge that has been passed down to us for generations. So I feel fortunate that I'm at least able to share that knowledge with others. And I think the message that I would give to everyone is, again, have a scientific mind, have an open mind, but you have to use that mind to ask questions to find answers,
True.
not to criticize, not for the purpose of only poking holes in a theory.
So
Any
true.
fool can ask a
So
question,
true.
right? Any fool can ask a question. That's what the proverb says, that any fool can ask a question that the wisest man cannot answer.
Hmm.
Right. So our purpose of asking questions is not to find faults or to find loopholes or to tear down a theory. Our purpose of asking questions should be to understand, and to apply it to our lives. Why did ancient Indians have the Varna ashram system? Why did, the castes exist? It was division of labor.
Yeah.
Any social, what do you say, a phenomena, can get corrupted, which is what happened with the caste system as well.
True.
But to begin with, it was just a simple division of labor. In fact, the Varna ashram dharma, where a person is supposed to go through 4 stages of life, it helps you prepare for the ultimate goal of moksha. As a child, you don't know anything about religion, about spirituality. You're more interested in having fun and playing and being naughty, and and eating what you like and playing with your favorite toys. So what would a child know of moksha?
Yeah.
It's only when a child is taught through the years of brahmacharya, he or she is imparted the knowledge of the scriptures, that he gains that understanding, which he or she can utilize as a householder in the grihast ashram.
Hmm.
And the householder stage is equally important, because that is the stage where you earn money and you also spend it in the society. It helps the economy run, it helps your society sustain itself, and you do the yajnas, you do worship in temples, you give dan to the brahmacharis and to the priests, and that's how their livelihood works. And then you move on to the retired stage of
Yeah.
anprast, when you start detaching yourself, and then comes sannyas, where you're
Sanyas.
completely focused on spiritual journey. So there's a whole logic to why things were done in a certain way, and there is a lot of logic to many of our rituals as well, even today. So I mean the message has become too elongated to elaborate,
No, but
but
still,
I
it's
think
interesting to just listen to you, just keep going.
so. I think the one liner would be to ask questions to know. When you know, share it with others,
Yeah.
right? So that others can also open their eyes to the wisdom, the amazing wisdom that has been shared by our sages, by our ancient people, scholars, whether they were religious or non-religious. A lot of them have written so many books, so many commentaries. Adi Shankaracharya, Madhavacharya, Ramanuja. There are so many saints, who have done amazing analysis of our scriptures, and they have
True.
brought it down to us. They made it easy for us. What are you waiting for? Pick
Yeah.
up at least something, start reading, start watching, start listening. You can listen to things, you're on Spotify, you can watch podcasts on YouTube. There are so many different handles on channels now that share, the messages of the Bhagavad Gita,
True.
or other scriptures. So there's a lot available. So even though we are spending time on social media, we are wasting the time on a lot of frivolous activities.
Very
A
true. Very
lot of
true.
time spent on social media is not when we are posting about ourselves, it's when we are scrolling about what others are doing.
Others are doing. Yeah.
So I think we need to cut down on that, and we need to focus or start following handles on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram, and Facebook. Whatever social media provides you, there are always ways and means to find more knowledge and more information. So utilize that opportunity that the internet
True.
provides and get more knowledge. So no one's stopping you from having fun, but spend some time at least every day or every week, and also inculcate that curiosity in your children,
Mhm. Yeah. Very
because
true. Very true.
that is the most important part right now for us, to have that civilizational continuity, we need to connect the children with this information, with this knowledge. Let them do whatever they want to do with it. But if we don't give them this knowledge, they'll definitely become alienated.
Completely
You
agree.
know, so that's a big responsibility that our generation has, and I think my message would be to find out more. Once you know, share it with others and pass it on to the next generation also.
Yeah. Personally, I would say you just need to start somewhere. And once you get started, I mean, like from personal experience, you won't be able to stop. You want to know more and more. And that's how I landed up with Vineet, and right now I'm speaking with you. So I'm truly blessed to have this conversation with you, to be honest, and the same, I totally believe that our viewers will also will be gaining so much from this short conversation, but this is not going to be the last one, that I pretty much guarantee. So thank you so much, Dr. Vineet, once again for sharing, for spending this much time with us, for our viewers and for us, and giving us all the knowledge or whatever you said. I mean, like it was a pleasure listening to you. And I still remember you in the starting. You said that I just have to give you a lead, and you will just keep on talking, and that's what I truly enjoyed listening to you. So thank you so much, Dr. Vineet.
My pleasure, and thank you for having me here. I really hope your audiences connect with what we've discussed, and I hope they take home something, which would be useful for them. So, thank you so much. Thanks again, and thanks to you both for organizing this.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vineet. Thank you.